Hello, everybody. I'm Spike Cohen. I'm the founder and president of You Are the Power. You may or may not already know that. Some of you may be, this may be your first time hearing about You Are the Power, or you may already be involved in You Are the Power, but you just want to know more details, or you're just here to hang out. Whatever reason you're here for, we're so glad and grateful to have you, and God bless you for being here. Um, if you can, if you, I'm sure you'll have many questions. You may have come here with questions. You probably will have more questions as the presentation goes on. Welcome again to the You Are the Power Power Hour. Before I get started, let's go ahead and I'm gonna let each of the core team members introduce themselves, starting with Myra.
I'm Myra Mateka. I am the executive director here at You Are the Power. I kind of just oversee all of the operations to make sure everything is moving smoothly and running appropriately between our donors and between our members, and our causes and clients as well. Um, I just kind of help pick up all the pieces.
Myra does a lot of the things that I think a lot of people assume that I'm doing, and they couldn't be more wrong. It's Myra doing it. Ryan.
Hey, thanks, Mike. My name is Ryan Ralston. I am the operations director here at You Are the Power. I work daily within the volunteer program, help manage the volunteer program. Some of my duties and responsibilities include policy and just general operations and client services. And I answer to Myra. Myra's my boss, and then I love being part of the team. Thanks.
Thank you. Ryan, also, actually, I'm realizing now just about everyone on this list are all variously doing things that a lot of people assume that I'm doing. And again, they couldn't be wrong. I'm essentially a glorified spokesperson at this point. But Victoria, you're
Hi,
next.
I'm Victoria Lawhorn. I am the volunteer director. I manage the volunteer program underneath Ryan Ralston. I'm working with all of your regional organizers, state organizers, the family reunification program, and the cause coordinator. So I'm doing everything to try to help get all of our causes off the ground and to get all of our volunteers being able to work on the causes that we have active all over the nation.
Thank you, Victoria. And I believe, I think I saw Elizabeth's here. Elizabeth?
Hello, good evening. I am the cause coordinator, so I look at the various causes that come in and do research and vet those causes. I'm also currently serving as the Southeast Regional Organizer.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Sierra?
Hey, I'm Sierra Mathy. I am the social media director for Year the Power. I also help facilitate the trainings that we do, and I'm also the person that puts out your monthly newsletters and all the emails you see. So that's all me.
Thank you, Sierra. Jenny?
Hello, all. I'm Jennifer Floyd. I am the media and graphics engineer for You Are the Power. I run our YouTube and TikTok channels. I am the one who puts out all of our graphics, our calls to action, and edits our videos.
And she's also the one who made this slideshow with about 12 minutes to spare because I gave her 16 minutes to spare. So great job, Jenny. And Brian?
Hey, my name is Brian Lambert. I am the Special Projects Director, which encompasses a whole lot of things, only a few that I can tell you about. I handle media requests. Spike goes on podcasts. He does television. If he comes to your city and he's on the radio in there, I'm behind that, trying to make sure to get him in front of as many cameras as possible. Help with development. If there's donors in there, try to help network, get Spike in front of as many people as possible. And the more people Spike's in front of, the better the message of You Are the Power gets out. So I help facilitate that.
Thank you, Brian. I don't believe Bob's here, so I'll give his introduction real quick. Bob is our accounting and development director. He's basically our treasurer. He is the reason that we operate so incredibly efficiently. Now, in addition to this core team, we also have intake leads for both our family reunification project. Those are all of our family policing causes that we work on, reunifying families that have had their children wrongfully taken from them. Then we have another intake lead for basically all of our other causes that aren't related to that. We have regional organizers. We have state organizers. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So we have an incredible team of volunteer leadership as well. This is just kind of our main core team of people. If we were to spend the time to go through all of the people who are existentially necessary for You Are the Power to exist, we'd spend about an hour and a half or more on that. So I had to condense it down to just the main core team. So all right, let's get started with talking about You Are the Power. And best way to get started with that is to ask the question, what is You Are the Power? So we are a membership-based organization. We are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible nonprofit. We are grassroots oriented, which means that we let the causes and things that we're working on come up to the top of the organization from the grassroots. We are membership based, which means that we are heavily reliant on people becoming members of You Are the Power. If you haven't already, I'll tell you at the end how you can do that, to do the work and to be on the front lines of doing the work that we do. Our mission is to spread and act upon the principle of human respect. I will talk about what that is in a moment. But the long and short of it is we are operating in all 50 states, and we help people who are having their lives completely upended by corrupt government officials and bad government policy. And usually both of those things. Usually you can't have one without the other. They usually work hand in hand. We have an incredible success rate. And since we were founded in 2022, we've had a nearly 100% success rate. Since 2024, we have had a 100% success rate. We have only won for the last about 2 years now. And that's what we do. Our services are always free to the people that we are helping. We do not charge anything. And that's the long and short of what we do. Here are some examples of the kind of things that we do. We deal with a lot of First and Fourth Amendment stuff. That's basically due process and freedom of speech. So people that were arrested for speaking, literally be arrested for speaking, people that have been have had their due process violated, have been searched wrongfully, anything related to basically having your rights violated, we are definitely involved in those types of things. Eminent domain and zoning abuse cases. Basically, when local and state government just tries to steal your property because they think they can do something better with your property than you did when you were living there, we get involved in that. Family policing, that's our family reunification project. There's a nationwide problem of CPS agencies taking children from wrongfully accused parents. And we've had so far, 100% success rate in reuniting the families that we've been helping. We've actually even gotten legislation passed in Georgia to fix many of the problems that were causing it in the first place. We deal with a lot of harmful local ordinances. A recent one was in Cortland, New York. They were going to implement a rule that would have forced disabled people to purchase a license to be allowed to use their wheelchairs. I said that correctly. I didn't make that up. That's a real thing. And within about 48 hours, we killed that. So the disabled people of Cortland, New York, no longer have to worry about facing jail time for not having a wheelchair license. Thank you. I didn't know people could applaud me, but thank you. We do a lot of helping factually innocent people. These are people that were just they were given a bunch of bogus charges, and we get them dropped, and we're very good at that as well. Calling attention to governmental bad actors. That's shorthand for we get a lot of corrupt people to resign in disgrace. We've gotten sheriffs to resign, mayors to resign, chiefs of police, sergeants of police, and other officials to resign. Or in some cases, they just, quote unquote, don't seek reelection, which is their way of saying they resign, which is fine. We'd like for them to join us and do the right thing, but if they can't, then we'd like them to leave so someone else can. General investigative work. Probably one of the biggest services we provide is vetting these causes and making sure they're legit, that there's something we can actually do about it. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. But we do so much investigative work that we've actually been told by investigative reporters and attorneys that they didn't have to do anything more than just look at what we gave them. They didn't have to do any additional discovery or investigative work. They just took what we already had done and ran with it. We offer membership exclusive training. This one is open to the public, but we offer a bunch of other more specified and specialized training for our members. And so you can be a part of that. In addition to live trainings, we already have pre-recorded ones that you can look at any time when you are a member. I go to a lot of different events and speak about what we do at You Are the Power to get people to join us. We share lots of examples of government overreach on our social media account. But we don't just share the overreach. We give you an actual way to deal with it. So we don't want to just make you mad. We want to then make you do something about how you just got mad about it so that we don't have to be mad anymore because they backed off and did the right thing. We collect clients with pro bono law firms that we work with that work at either no cost or just whatever cost they have out of pocket. So we save people a lot of money that way and get them involved with some really good attorneys who can help them. We are actually 4 for 4 in criminal cases doing that. We connect clients with investigative journalists who put out even more information about their cause. That has actually led to some of the great victories we saw in Georgia with the passing of Ridge's Law that started with our work and continued on with investigative journalists getting involved. And we work with our clients to support effective policy and legislative changes. It's great to play government whack-a-mole where every time a corrupt official pops up, we knock him back down and then we wait for the next one to pop up and knock him back down. But it turns out you can just turn around and unplug the machine, then you don't have to do it anymore. And so what we find is that if we can get some, yeah, absolutely. I like the reactions. I didn't know this was, yes, thumbs up to you too, Zach. And so that is wildly distracting, but don't stop. It's very supportive and validating. Thank you. So we've learned that if you can find out the policy problems that led to the corruption and the harm that we're seeing, then you can prevent it. You can not only stop it from happening now, but you can prevent it from happening in the future, or at least reduce the odds of it happening in the future. So we do a lot of that as well. So you're probably thinking, hey, that's great. That's all good things that you do. But how exactly do you do that? And the answer is that the long and short of it is that we have a massive reach on our social media. Depending on how you measure it, our reach is anywhere between 100 to 150 million. That doesn't even get into including the social media reach of others who platform us on their platforms, podcast hosts, cable news, radio hosts and things like that. That even multiplies our reach even more. But conservatively, we can say it's over 100 million. By utilizing that, we're able to tell our clients' stories and put out content that very often goes viral. And we do it by starting with the people. We don't start with talking about the policy or the principle behind it. We start with talking about the people that are affected by it. Because I don't want to get into a political discussion with someone. I want to talk about people who are being harmed and how they can help us stop that harm from happening to the people that we just told them about. And so we get people's sympathy and empathy and support to join us on this specific call to action. And then right there, we give them the call to action. We don't say, so be mad about this and, just tell other people about how mad you are and maybe they'll get mad too. We give them a page on and you're welcome to be mad and you can tell people how mad you are. But what we'd rather you do in that moment is go to a page on our website for that cause. And we make it so easy. We literally just have you click on the names of the people we need you to contact, the specific officials that are doing whatever the harmful thing is, and it immediately pulls up on whatever your default email program or app is on whatever device you're using, your computer, your phone, whatever. It pulls up a completed email with the email addresses of the people that you're contacting. The subject line's already filled out. The body of the information, the details is already all filled out. You can edit it or you can add your own wording if you want to, or you can start from scratch, or you could just add your name at the bottom and press send. And in literally less time than it took me to just explain that, you will have just helped us in winning on yet another cause. And by doing this, we mobilize people to actually get them into action now, get them involved in doing things now, instead of trying to get them excited about it or upset about it, so that maybe we can do something about it in the future. We say, let's go do something about it right now. And that's why we've had such an incredible success rate. We continue to utilize our social media to give updates about it, because what usually happens is sometimes we win 100% right off the bat. Sometimes they'll back off as a half measure and hope that we go away. That's not what happens. We end up coming back even stronger because they just gave us more content. Sometimes they actually dig in their heels and fight back against us, which gives us even more content to get even more people to contact them about it. So either way, we win. But we just keep doing that until we win. And then we let everyone know when we won. So for example, earlier today, we let everyone know that that's right. Look, Lakivia, thank you. I'm going to have to learn to just ignore those coming up because they're great, but so what we earlier today we announced that there was a man, a paramedic, who delivered antivenom to someone who had just been bitten by a snake and had minutes to live. He was facing losing his license because they had changed the rules without him knowing, so that you had to have some additional certification to be able to give the life-saving antivenom. There was no one there that had that, and this man would have died if he hadn't delivered it to the snake bite victim. So anyway, we got the public involved on it, and thanks to in no small part to their help, that case was dismissed, and the paramedic will be able to continue doing his work. So these are the kind of updates that we're constantly doing. And if it's needed, although we're finding more and more that it's not needed anymore, we become so effective that they just back off a lot sooner. We organize rallies and marches at city council meetings and at county council meetings, and where we have a rally for whatever the cause is, and we do it right before it's time for that group of officials to meet, and then we have everyone go in and tell them what they think about whatever it is that they're doing. Like I said, we're having to do that less and less because we just are so effective now that we usually blow it up on social media long before they ever meet, and they hurriedly find a way to capitulate to us before we ever have to meet them in person. So that's the kind of the how we do it. And so then the next thing is how is this so effective? So it first starts with a very thorough vetting process. And when I say thorough, some of our causes, we have spent upwards of 300 hours vetting them. We don't want to help anyone who is lying to us. We don't want to help anyone that may actually be in the wrong. And frankly, we can't help anyone whose cause is something that we can't build a feasible call to action around. So if your cause involves us ending the military industrial complex, we're probably not going to be able to take on your cause because we haven't quite built the membership size to be able to end the multi-trillion-dollar military industrial complex yet. We're working on it, but yet. But if your cause involves something like getting a city council to back off of a very, very bad idea, yet, exactly, Sam. But if it involves something like getting police to release body cam footage, or getting a city council to back off of a really bad idea, or to get a police department to stop threatening to arrest people for feeding people in need, these are not hypothetical. These are all things we've had to deal with. Or getting wrongful charges dropped at the local or state level, or even some state level stuff like what we've done with family reunification. Then that's something we can take on. Our strategy of focusing on people first resonates very well with people because most people don't want to feel political. They may have a political opinion, but they don't want to be very loud about their politics. They want to be loud about what they feel like they're doing that's good, that they want people to join them in doing. And so that's what we give them. We give them something that is kind of just objectively good. It doesn't really matter what you think politically. It's good to help someone who's facing losing their home to be able to keep their home. It's good to help someone who is helping people try to get back on their feet and is being threatened with arrest for it. It's good to stop that threat of arrest from happening. It's good for people who are facing losing their children because they were wrongfully accused of abuse, for them to be able to get their kids back and have their charges dropped. These are all objectively good things. And so we give people these causes that they can work on right now and actually see real change on now, and get them excited on the prospect of helping us with more causes in the future. As we do that, we continue to kind of expose them to the underlying principles and ideas behind why we're doing this. But more than anything, we're just helping people now, right now. We are working on being able to make sure that our clients' needs are addressed holistically, so that we've started a process of connecting clients with not just helping them on social media, but connecting them with therapists and counselors and attorneys and medical experts and parent advocates for whatever they need, both during the time that we're working on their cause and even afterwards. I mean, when you have government officials trying to destroy your life, and then a group steps in and stops that from happening, it's not like you just walk away from that and go, well, crisis averted. Sometimes you've got some trauma from that. So we try to get people the help that they can get. We show up to court hearings and trials. We'll help people with their fundraising efforts. Many of the people that have come to us have 5 and 6 figures of debt when they were trying to fight this on their own before they found out about us. So we try to help them with their fundraising efforts. We offer support wherever we can, wherever it's needed. We have team members that are available pretty much day or night that clients can contact. to help them, and also just to let them, remind them that there's someone there that actually cares about them and is going to stick there with them until this gets resolved in their favor. We try to do our best to say yes whenever we can. And it is very important to us that our clients, the people that we are helping, understand that first and foremost, we are doing it for them. We open a lot of doors that were closed to them, and we make sure that we can meet whatever need that they have. All of this is based on our principle of human respect, which we will actually get into right now. You've now heard it twice, the principle of human respect. Fantastic, Spike. I like respect, and I like principles, and I like humans. And I guess if you combine those three words, that's probably something good. But what does that actually mean? So here's a breakdown of the principle of human respect. I think that it's pretty clear that every single one of us, our primary goal in life is to pursue happiness. And that looks wildly different from person to person. It can look almost opposite from person to some people. But for all of us, we are sort of subjectively trying to pursue happiness. We definitely describe our choices differently, but we always aim for what we think will bring us the most well-being at the end of the day. And so we believe that when we respect one another as individual human beings, that we are going to have more pursuit of happiness. We are more prosperous, we're more harmonious, we're freer, and ultimately we're happier. Conversely, when we disrespect one another, when we use threats or theft or violence against one another, we are less prosperous, we are less harmonious, and we are less happy. Theft, fraud, coercion, violence, threats, all of these things make people less happy every single time. Now, you probably all already agree with that. And I'd say 99% of people on earth probably already agree with that. The problem is, many of us, no one in here, of course, we're all very smart people, but other people outside of this room that are nowhere near as smart as we are, they'll often put aside that expectation to be treated like a human when it comes to the government, quote unquote. You know, if I put a gun to someone's head and say, give me your wallet, and I'll decide how much of it you're allowed to have back, well, I just committed theft, and everyone on earth is going to agree that that's wrong and I should be punished. But when a politician stands up and says, hey, I've got a great idea, I've got this program, I'm going to give you everything you need, I'm just going to have to tax you to pay for it, some people will agree with that plan, some people will disagree with that plan, but very few people will recognize that that action was no different than me going up and just robbing someone. Even though when I was robbing someone, I just reduced one person's happiness. That politician just reduced tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people, depending on, you know, how high of a level in politics he's in. He may have just reduced the happiness of hundreds of millions of people. And yet we don't look at that the same way that we look at someone robbing someone. So part of what we do at You Are the Power is we're showing that when you're in a position of government, is when it is most important to demand that they treat us like human beings and not threaten us and not use violence against us. Offensive violence. They can obviously use defense, but not offensive violence, or use theft against us, not only because they're still human beings and we should expect them to treat us the same way we would if they weren't in the government, but because they're in the government, they can do far more harm than they could do outside of it. So it's when it's most important for us to demand that from them. So that is the principle of human respect and why it matters. And here are some examples of what happens when the government doesn't treat people like human beings. These are some of the causes that we work on. These are ones we're actively working on. We have many success cases. All the ones we're about to talk about are ones that we are still actively working on. That's right. Immunity makes it much worse. Not only, thank you, Lakeivia, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Not only can they do far more harm, but they can thank you. They can give themselves immunity and say, well, yeah, I mean, I'm just not going to get any trouble for that. And that would be a very powerful thing for any of us to have. And it's a good thing we don't have it. It's a bad thing that they do have it. So they should not have immunity. It's one of the many reasons we should demand that they treat us like human beings. We should also demand that we get rid of all forms of immunity, qualified immunity, absolute immunity. You should not be inoculated against the consequences of your actions. The Patterson case. So the Patterson family is a perfect example of what happens when the government doesn't respect people and treat people like human beings. Michael and Tasha Patterson were falsely accused of abuse after they spent months trying to get doctors to take seriously the fact that there was something wrong with their twins. And they kept bringing them to a doctor and saying, there's something wrong here. they're fussy. And Tasha is actually a nurse. So she knew that this was something wrong. They kept saying, oh, she's just an overly concerned mother. They eventually realized that the children had, I believe, Ehlers-Danlos and metabolic bone disorder. They had all the medical evidence that that's what they had. And so they chose to to arrest Michael and Tasha for abuse and to take their children. They are continuing to railroad them through the family court system. This is still an active case. If this infuriates you, it should. It will also infuriate you to know this is not rare. We're actually going to be talking about other families this has happened to. And at the end of this, I'll explain why it's even happening in the first place. Spoiler alert, it's because of money. But so in this case, the twins have been away from Michael and Tasha for over 1,000 days, for roughly 3 years. And right now the state is aiming to have them adopted. We are fighting to get those children returned to them and this nightmare behind them, like we've done for so many others. Here's another example of what that looks like. And again, it's a family that was wrongfully accused of abuse. Wyatt and Rachel Talon were falsely accused of abuse. They had their medically fragile, their chronically ill daughter seized by the state. The daughter, and this we're working on a few causes that are like this. The daughter has been returned to their care, but they're still facing the criminal charges. Even though it's already been determined that they didn't do anything wrong and their children were returned to them, they're still facing felony criminal charges for a crime that same exact state already established wasn't committed and didn't never happen. The crime didn't happen. It never happened. So that's another case that we're working on. Here's one, the Anderson family. This is in Massachusetts. Christy Anderson was falsely accused of medical abuse. The state seized her son. This was a horrific case. She actually brought her son to Boston Children's Hospital, where they botched one of his procedures and caused him to have, I believe, a stroke. And she was saying all along, something's wrong here. And they went, no, you're just being overly concerned. There's nothing wrong here. Then they figured out that they had done something wrong. She tried to take them to another hospital, and instead the hospital intervened, said that she was being abusive and neglectful, and basically had the state take custody so that they could continue treating her son, quote unquote, treating her son after they nearly killed her. So now she's facing having her son adopted, and the state is seeking to terminate her parental rights. That's another cause that we are working on. Again, if these infuriate you, we've helped a lot of other families that were going through similar things. So not only have we been winning so far 100% of the time, but we also have gotten legislative fixes done so that this happens a lot less often. The Savely family, this is in Tennessee. Mason and Madeline Savely were falsely accused of abusing their chronically ill child, and their adjudication hearing is in October. So we are working on that one as well. Here's one that is not related to family reunification. Well, I guess actually to him it probably is, because his pets are like his family. Todd Combs is a military veteran. He owns pet fowls. He keeps them as emotional support animals. There has been no issues with them, and the government's seeking to have his family surrender the animals. He lives in a rural area. This is not a problem having these chickens. He has even complied with their requirements to get them registered and to do everything they needed to have done. And they're still fighting to try to take his chickens from him just because they think they can. So that's another cause. That's one of those examples of just really crazy stuff that we fight. The Franklin County Prison Project in Arkansas, the state government is building a prison in a small town that does not want it. Like, this is actually a case where we're working with the local government because no one wants it. This is all at the state and federal level that they're pushing this. No one in the town wants it. They're actually concerned it's going to cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. I believe there was also issues with access to water and environmental damage and all sorts of other things. They have been vocal in their opposition. I know that we've had some victories on this. Some small victories on this, but it is still something that we are actively fighting. Frogtown Road, there's a stretch of road in an area called Frogtown in a place in rural Kentucky. Multiple residents are facing losing their homes and land because the state is trying to introduce a road widening project that literally no one there wants. It's just a way to give money to some of the some of the contractors that have helped get certain politicians into office. And so they're saying, okay, yeah, we'll have you widen this rural road and add sidewalks and bike paths and all this other nonsense. It's a rural road out in the middle of, I'll say it, the middle of nowhere. And no one's asking for this. No one there wants it. And so they are fighting that. Many residents have been in their homes for 50 years or longer. We have had a small victory where the DOT has sort of temporarily, quote unquote, backed off of this, but we are still fighting to end this for good. We're also working with our partners there in Kentucky to get some serious eminent domain reform passed so that these types of outright abuses of eminent domain that no one wants would never happen again. The Henry family farm. So this is a family home that I think has been in the family's ownership for 175 years or something like that. They have a farm in New Jersey. It's being threatened with having their home and land seized by the state so that some residential and commercial projects can be built. So eminent domain was supposed to be, well, we really need to build this road, and so we're going to take this land, as little of your land as we need to, and pay you its free market value because it's the only way we can get this road construction done. Well, I would argue that's not the only way to get it done. You could actually negotiate with people like literally anyone else would have to, but that's what eminent domain was supposed to be. But thanks to the Kelo decision of, I think, 2005, the Supreme Court said that the public use could all, because eminent domain is supposed to only be for public use, they ruled, well, public use could also just mean more tax revenue. So in other words, the government could look at your land and your home and say, you know what? I think an amusement park would make a lot more money on this land than, this poor schmo's house would. So that's going to make it's going to be more jobs, more revenue, more taxes. So sorry, we're going to give you what your tax assessment rate is on your home, which is usually pennies on the dollar, and you got to skedaddle and go find somewhere that you can't possibly afford to rebuild what you just had taken from you because we want a mini mall or a whatever, residential community, a condo community, whatever. So we're fighting on this one as well so that the Henry family can keep their home and farm as well. One Love Longview. So I had mentioned people that have been threatened with arrest and removal for the terrible crime of helping people get back on their feet and helping them with whatever needs they have in the meantime. And so far we've worked on, I think this is our 5th case. We won on the other 4. This one we are still actively working on. One Love Longview is a nonprofit in Longview, Texas. They help those who don't have homes and who are poor and need help. And they give them the things that they need and help them get a leg up and to be able to get the help that they need so that eventually they don't need that help anymore, hopefully. And for however long they do need that help, they give them that help. Again, I know this is a terrible crime. And so for this crime, the executive director is actually facing, Amanda Veazey is actually facing criminal charges. Her clients have been abused. They've been harassed. They've been jailed for minor victimless crimes. We actually had an incident where an officer, thankfully it was caught on tape, an officer assaulted and wrongfully arrested someone who was literally doing nothing wrong, arrested him for resisting arrest, even though he was being arrested illegally and did not resist it. He was just being beaten up. And thankfully, I'm forgetting the officer's name, the sergeant's name, but he actually, we helped create the public pressure behind him resigning in disgrace. But we are still fighting for One Love Longview for them to get the respect that they deserve. So this is the 5K, but before I talk about this, I had kind of foreshadowed earlier, the reason that all these families are facing having their children taken from them, even though every single person involved knows that they didn't do anything wrong, is because of something called Title 4E, which is part of the Social Security Act. So under Title 4E, the federal government pays state child protective services and the family court system and the foster care facilities, the entire child protection pipeline. So anyone involved in child protection, the children's hospitals, the child abuse pediatricians, everyone in the system, they pay them based on the number of abuse cases they dealt with the year before. Now, at first glance, when you hear that, you might think, all right, yeah, sure, okay. But here's what that actually means. They pay them to accuse people of abuse. If they accuse someone of abuse, they get more money. If they don't accuse them of abuse, then they don't get any money. And if they keep the children in foster care, they get even more money. The longer they keep children in foster care, the more money they get, which is again why we're seeing cases where parents have lost their children for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And if the children end up being placed permanently in adoption, they get even more money. And if it turns out that the child has a chronic illness, they get the most money. So the way that these children protective services are able to, and the family courts and the whole system, the way they're able to get the most money possible is to camp out in front of Children's Hospital, wrongfully accuse factually innocent parents of abuse when all the evidence shows that the children were not abused and that their injuries were caused by Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, connective tissue disorders, bone disorders, all sorts of things, and no sign of actual physical abuse. That's actually how they get the most money, because they already know they can take the kids. They know they can take them for as long as they want to, and they know they can put them up for adoption, and they already know that they're chronically ill. So that's the most money they can get. All they have to do is put aside their humanity, put aside their own expectation that they treat people like people, so that when they look at that child who needs medical help, instead of seeing a child that needs medical help, they see the opportunity for them to get the maximum amount of money that they can possibly get. So that's what we're up against. Thankfully, we've been able to reunite a lot of families. We've been able to get we've gotten some legislative fixes passed at the state level, which makes it harder for them to do this and actually forces them to go by their own procedures, because very often they're breaking the law and how they're doing this in the first place. Ultimately, the end goal is to either get rid of Title IV-E entirely, or at the very least tie that funding to something neutral, like the population of the state or something like that. Stop subsidizing a specific outcome and paying them to accuse people. In the meantime, the original 6 families in Georgia that we have supported, who had their medically fragile, their chronically ill children taken by the state, thankfully they've all been reunited. Their nightmares are behind them, except combined they're over $1 million in debt from attorneys' fees, expert witnesses, fighting to get their kids' medical records, like everything. They're in a lot of debt. And so we're actually doing a 5K reunification run. All the proceeds from this event go to benefit those families, to help them with the massive amount of debt that they have. The sooner that we get involved, the less debt that the more we're able to protect these families from having to run up any debt. We actually just had recently 2 cases, one in Colorado and one in, I believe, Indiana, where it was parents that were wrongfully accused of abuse. We were able to get involved very early on, where we didn't even have to go public with the causes. One family, we got their criminal charges dropped, and the other family, we got their children returned to them. And so we saved them not just the nightmare of potentially losing their children, but we also saved them the massive amounts of debt that they would have run up trying to fight it themselves. So these are the kinds of things that we do. Now, hopefully, you're thinking that this is great, and I know a lot of you are already involved, but some of you may be thinking, I want to be involved, or if you're already involved, I want to be even more involved. How can I help? So let's start with the basics. Everyone, if you're not already doing this, please follow us on our social media accounts. We are on Facebook. We are on X, Twitter. We are on Instagram. We are on Threads, and we are on YouTube. If you look for @YATP official, then you will find us. Please follow us on any of those that you use. Whenever our causes come up, please share them. We have our calls to action on all of them. It'll take you usually like, I don't know, 30 seconds to complete the call to action, to click the names and send out the emails. Please participate in those, and encourage your friends to do so. Share this stuff and let them know all the great work that you're helping us with. That's right. Share, like, and comment. So that's the first thing that you can do. The next thing that you can do, if you want to be even more involved, is you can volunteer. We are actively seeking leadership positions as state organizers and Tiger Team members across the country. We actually have some of both of those in this meeting right now. So long and short of a state organizer, our state organizers are members of the leadership team. They're the eyes and ears of the organization in a specific state. They work directly with the regional organizers of their region to identify potential causes for vetting. They recruit members in their state. They help establish and manage the tiger teams. The tiger teams are more specialized. These are volunteer groups of You Are the Power members who are dedicated to general organizational tasks or specialized teams on a specific cause or specific function. So these are teams that are put together for a very specific specialized things. An example, there might be a tiger team in a state that might specialize just in family policing work or just in eminent domain cases. And so they're able to be more agile because they focus just on that kind of stuff and leave anything else that we're working on to the general membership or possibly to other tiger teams that work on those things. They can work in various states, not just in one. So they just would work under the direction of that state organizer and that region's organizer. So if you are interested in being a state organizer and your state doesn't, well, if you're interested in being a state organizer, then you can contact us and we'll let you know if your state already has an organizer. And if not, then we can onboard you and see if it's something that works for you. We're always looking for Tiger Team members. Just go to, thank you, Sierra. You can go to youarethepower.net/volunteer. You can also go to our website under the Contact Us tab and select volunteer. It's the same thing. It takes you to the same page. There's a short form to complete and a team member will contact you. You can also contact Victoria. Actually, this isn't true anymore because she's not our volunteer director. You can, no, she is our, okay, sorry. It used to be Ryan was our volunteer director. Now it's Victoria. So you can contact Victoria, who is our national volunteer director, at victoria.lawhorn@youarethepower.net, or you can go to youarethepower.net/volunteer. Either way works. The next thing that you can do, and we encourage everyone to do this, actually, that was the next one. Although I guess we encourage everyone to donate. As we said at the beginning, our services are always free to our clients. Very often the clients that we are helping have negative money. They have very often these are middle and working class people who have already run up 5-6 figures in debt just to try to fight this, whatever the thing is that they're fighting. The average cost to us for working on these causes, from when we find out about them to when we declare victory, everything in between that, if they're not related to family reunification, they're about $10,000, which, if you think about it, that's quite a steal. To have charges dropped, to have corrupt officials to resign, to get city and state governments to back off of bad policies, 10 grand is actually a steal for that. $10,000 is still $10,000. For our family reunification project cases, our family policing cases, the cost to us from when we first find out about it to when we declare victory and the nightmares behind them is about $25,000. There's a lot more checking to do. There's a lot more vetting to do. We have to be very, very careful with those causes because we're dealing with criminal accusations of abusing children, and they're often a lot more complex. There's a lot of rabbit holes we end up going down. We have medical professionals that are involved in helping us. We have legal professionals that are involved in helping us. We often help raise money for expert witnesses if it continues in family court or goes to a criminal trial. We deal with, sometimes with the attorney's fees. And Candace brought up a great point. $10,000 is not even a retainer fee for some attorneys. So these are bargains. The $10,000 and the $25,000 are bargains. They're also still $10,000 and $25,000. I'm not going to ask you to give more than you're comfortable giving. I will ask you to give what you feel comfortable giving. If you are able to donate, you can go to youarethepower.net/donate. You can make a one-time donation, or if there's an amount that you are comfortable giving every month, even if it's $5 a month or $10 a month, any bit that we get gets us that much closer to helping another family that is in need. We'll happily be able to take whatever it is that you are in a position to be able to give. We just recently are able to accept Bitcoin and other forms of cryptocurrency. We're still working on the page to accept that, but if you're interested in donating, contact one of us and we will give you the information on how you can donate all those Bitcoins you've been hodling. So that's one thing you can do. And then something we do encourage everyone to do. This is the thing when I said I encourage everyone to do this. This was the thing I actually thought was coming up next. We do ask that everyone becomes a member If you go to youarethepower.net/join, you can sign up today. There is a free membership. And let me explain. Becoming a member puts you at the tip of the spear of the work that we do. You get access to our members only social media groups. You get access to our members only newsletter. You get access to, we are working on revitalizing our members only mobile app that will be back online soon. Stay tuned for that. All members get access to that. It doesn't matter whether you're a free member or a paid member. A member is a member is a member. There's no special treatment based on your membership tier. All your membership tier does is there's some additional swag that comes with each of these membership tiers. For example, the Blaze tier, which is $500 a year or $50 a month, you get a phone call with me, which that alone's worth $500, right, everyone? Not all at once, but and some of the other tiers also come with like shirts and sweaters and things like that. So they come with a lot. Thank you, Candace. They come with different levels of things, and you know that you're giving it towards helping You Are the Power. But the most important thing is just being a member. If you're a free member, that's fantastic. If you're a paid member, that's great. Yes, all membership fees are also tax deductible. They are considered a donation. It is legally not a membership fee. It is a donation, which makes you you're already a member because that's free. And for this donation, you get the swag. So yes, it is tax deductible up to the full amount that you've donated. And so those are the things you can do to help. But what if you need help? Now, you might need help. Someone you know might need help. Someone you've heard about might need help. And so if you or someone you know or someone that you've heard about needs help, the best way to have them contact us, or for you to contact us about it, is to go to youarethepower.net/help. Or if you go to our website, under the contact tab, you select request help. There's a short form you fill out. And when you fill that out, it goes to our team. They will contact you to get whatever additional information that they need. And from there, if there's anything we can do to help, then we will do so. We do ask you include as much info as possible. We need to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row so that we can accurately and effectively help you on whatever it is that your cause or the cause of the person that's coming to us, whatever it is, we want to be able to help as much as we can. So that is pretty much that. And now you're going to have to look directly at me. After getting to watch that beautiful presentation, you now have to stare at this ugly mug. But it's not all bad news. The good news is the reason you're having to stare at my ugly mug is because it's Q&A time. And so we have been doggedly collecting all of your various questions that you have been putting in the chat. Sierra, you can start asking me whenever you're ready. But again, I want to thank you for being a part of this. Those of you who are on the core team, those of you who are in the volunteer leadership team, those of you who are considering getting more involved, those of you who said, hey, you know what, I'm bored, it's Tuesday night, I'll check this out. I'm glad you're here. I hope that you understand more and know more about what we're doing. I hope you're as excited as we are to be a part of it. And God bless you for being here. I'm glad you're here. And with that, I will start taking your questions. Sierra?
Yeah, Lori Kilbride asked if you could talk about a case we have won.
Oh, absolutely. Let me try. I've tried to tell this story in as abbreviated a way as possible. And it's hard because it's so involved. I'll start with the first case that we took on for family reunification in earnest. I always need to preface that because there was technically one we took on very briefly in 22. We were involved for all of like 2 or 3 days. We found out about it on the tail end of it. And thankfully, we were able to do the final push over the edge for Rodney and Tamisha. I forget their last name, but they were in Dallas, and we were able to get baby Mila returned to them. But we did very little lifting towards the end. We were finding out when they were, there were already other organizations involved. But the first one that we started on was the Hernandez family. Matt and Tucky Hernandez have 2 children, Emma and Aria. Emma, when she was still a newborn, when she was a baby, she had a swelling all through her legs, and it was getting worse, and she was becoming increasingly fussy. So they took her to Children's Hospital of Atlanta, where they did x-rays on her. They found fractures in her legs and I think also in her arms at various stages of healing. And then they also did a bunch of blood work. The blood work came back indicating that it was being caused by a chronic health condition, most likely either osteogenesis imperfecta or neonatal rickets. There was no sign of trauma, no physical trauma, no sign of anything that indicated a physical cause. So it was not caused by abuse. It wasn't even caused by an accident. It was clearly being caused by some kind of chronic health condition. So they accused Matt and Tucky of abuse. They took both of their children from them. They arrested them for felony abuse. And as a condition of their bond, they weren't allowed to talk to each other or live together or be within a certain number of feet or yards or whatever from each other. So overnight, having done nothing wrong for the crime of trying to get help for their child, who obviously had something wrong with her, they had their children taken from them. They were facing decades in prison each, and they were not allowed to talk to one another as husband and wife or be near each other indefinitely. There was no end date for that. So we found out about it thanks to one of the foster parents who had their children, Jennifer and Jonathan Williams. They had the children temporarily. Jennifer felt like something was wrong here. Aria kept saying, I want to see my parents. I want to see my mommy. I want to see my daddy. And Emma looked like there might be something medically wrong with her. So she did some research, found out about their parents, saw that they were claiming that the kids were sick, that they were fighting to get the medical records, and that they were fighting in court and they were being railroaded. So Jennifer contacted DFACS, the Division of Family and Children's Services, and said, I think something might be wrong here. DFAC's response was, your 13 years of service will no longer be needed. Now, Georgia is a state that has such a shortage of foster families that they've lost somewhere around 2,000 children in just the last few years. I mean, they have a crisis of not having enough foster families, and they told this foster family, go away, because they were saying something's wrong here. So thankfully, Jennifer and Jonathan and Jennifer's sister, Mandy, contacted us and said, hey, can you look into this? We looked into this very carefully because we had never looked into a case like this before, and we did not want to inadvertently or even accidentally help a actual child abusers. But we looked into it, and it was even worse. They had spent tens of thousands of dollars to get their kids' medical records. The medical records, once they finally did get them, obviously showed there was no abuse. It was being caused by a chronic health condition. They paid to have medical experts, actual specialists in their field, look at the records and go, yeah, there's no abuse here. This child obviously has a chronic health condition. And they thought, thank God, we'll take this to the family courts and this will all be behind us. The family court judge refused to allow any of that to be entered into evidence, and instead took just the testimony of the so-called child abuse pediatrician who accused them of abuse, who brought no paperwork, did not seem to be familiar with the case. And his evidence, quote unquote, was he said, well, yeah, statistically, when you look at these types of cases, they tend to be abuse. When the lawyer asked him for the source of that, to cite the source of that statistic, he went, you can look it up on the internet. Based on that stellar testimony, the family court judge ordered non-reunification, which meant that Matt and Tucky Hernandez faced never seeing their children again and then being placed permanently in a permanent home. Like they would be adopted out to a family that would be their family moving forward. They'd never see or hear from their kids again, and their kids would potentially always spend the rest of their lives believing that they had been abused by their biological parents. And we're still facing decades in prison each. That's when we found out about it. So we took all that information, we put it out on social media. Three things happened. First thing that happened was it went viral, and I mean viral. Millions of people saw it. Tens of thousands of people started angrily contacting all the officials that we told them to contact, the CPS worker, the CPS supervisor, the family court judge, everyone involved. That was the first thing that happened. Second thing that happened was everyone suddenly started capitulating. The family court judge said, I see no evidence of abuse here. I'll just close this case out. The CPS, the DFACS, Division of Family and Children's Services, they said the same thing too. Suddenly they didn't see any abuse here either. And they said, yeah, let's close this case out. Let's, we see nothing here. The criminal court judge removed the bond conditions, forbidding them from living together. So the husband and wife, suddenly, for no particular reason. The criminal court judge allowed the husband and wife, Matt and Tucky, to live together as husband and wife again. And the children were now living with their aunt and uncle. They could not live with their parents yet because the criminal case was still pending, but they were able to see them with a lot less supervision. They were no longer in foster care. They were with their actual family, and the threat of having them placed for adoption, at least for now, was over. So that was the second thing that happened. The third thing that happened was we had families come out of the woodwork from all over Georgia and all across the country with the exact same story over and over again. My child is factually sick, has a demonstrative illness that is the only potential cause for their injuries. There's no evidence for abuse. Everyone who has looked at it has said that there's no evidence for abuse. In some cases, even the Children Protective Services have said there's no case of abuse, but they're still moving forward with trying to take our children and trying to put us in prison. So we started putting their causes out. We started getting them reunified as well. But then as we were doing that, we found out what the problem was, and it was Title 4E. We found out that we figured it was the money, but we realized exactly what the problem was with the money. So we kept moving forward. We just kept plowing forward, kept getting families reunified. And then we reached a critical mass in Georgia after I'm giving the most abbreviated version of this story I can. I'm going over about 2 years of history here and a lot of stuff that happened. Rebecca Lindstrom with 11 Alive in Atlanta, Georgia, made a documentary about the families that we were helping. And she started getting heavily involved in helping promote our causes and what we were working on. And because as a part of that and the content that we put out, the head of DFACS, Candace Brose, contacted us privately and said, I had no idea it was this bad. How do we fix this? Again, she's saying this privately. She's not in front of news cameras going, oh, I'm as shocked as everyone else. This wasn't about political expediency. She was privately reaching out and going, wait a second, I didn't know it was this bad. How do we fix this? So we gave her a list of things that needed to be done. She implemented that as policy immediately. The two big things were, if you're accused of child abuse, if your child is diagnosed with abuse, you have a right to your kid's medical records. You don't have to fight to get them. And you also have a right to get a second opinion from a qualified, certified doctor that is outside of that federally funded accuse as many parents as you can of abuse system. So you actually now have a fighting chance of proving that you didn't do anything wrong. It's still kind of guilty until proven innocent, but it's better than what it was before, which was guilty and not allowed to prove that you were innocent. So it's a baby step, but it's a big baby step. And the other thing is that the child abuse pediatrician that accuses you of abuse has to actually sign and attest that they actually looked at your kid's medical records, because that wasn't happening before. In fact, very often you didn't even know which doctor was accusing you. You'd get a form letter saying you were accused of abuse, and it would have the name of every single child abuse pediatrician that worked in that system. And it could be dozens that worked in that system. So you didn't even know who you were being accused by. So just those two fixes were a big change. We then went to Capitol Hill in Atlanta and to get those policies codified into law. Now, prior to that, we had talked to legislators who weren't really interested in helping us. In fact, one of them told us, well, I'd rather see innocent parents lose their kids than guilty parents not lose their kids. That was the mentality of a lot of people in Capitol Hill. And then suddenly, and inexplicably, after there were suddenly millions of people talking about this, we got it passed unanimously, including those same people who said that they'd rather see innocent parents lose their kids. They voted for it too. They named it Ridge's Law after Ridge Collins, a child who we helped reunify with his family after they lost him for 3 years. They fought to get him back. It was passed unanimously, and it was signed into law back in May by Governor Brian Kemp. And so we had a major victory there. We've had lawmakers reach out to us in states across the country to say, hey, how do we fix this in our state? Ryan and I were actually in New Hampshire a couple of weeks ago speaking to a summit of lawmakers there about how we can get things fixed there. New Hampshire's problem's so bad that they've taken so many children at scale that they've started retrofitting prisons and putting foster children as young as 6 years old in the prisons with juvenile offenders. I don't have to tell you the kind of things that are happening to them. Yeah, no, it's insane. But the good news is we're working on getting a fix to that as soon as we can. So all of this started with that family. Now, if you remember, they still had criminal charges pending. And we thought, that's going to be the easy part. We'd already had 3 other trials. They were a laughing stock. The jury and the judge were laughing at the state's witnesses at how ridiculous their case was, because in every single case there was no evidence of abuse. You can watch the trials on our YouTube channel where the attorney would say to each state witness, "Did you see any evidence of a crime?" And they go, "No." "Okay, all right, next witness. Did you see any evidence of a crime?" "No." I mean, it was a joke. So we thought, well, this will be a joke for the Hernandez family. Maybe they'll even drop the charges and it won't even go to trial. What we didn't know is that judge was colluding with the DA to railroad the Hernandez family. They weren't going to allow the jury to see any of the exonerating evidence. They weren't going to allow them to hear from the medical experts that Emma's injuries were explained by chronic health conditions. They weren't allowed to hear from the arresting officer because he didn't think they did anything wrong. You ever heard of a prosecutor say, "Your Honor, I don't think that the jury needs to hear from the officer who arrested them"? That jury heard that. They didn't get to hear that defects in the family court had closed out their family court case because there was no evidence of abuse. They weren't even allowed to hear that Emma and Aria Hernandez loved their parents. Essentially, all they were allowed to see were those x-rays that showed fractures and the opinion of that guy who went, "Yeah, statistically, this looks like abuse to me." Thankfully, the jury saw through that and voted not guilty on all 4 counts. And that is directly because of the work of You Are the Power, our attorneys that worked with us on that, because of the volunteers who showed up every single day of the trial and just filled the courtroom. So everyone in the jury saw that everyone there was in support of that family, which had to mean something to them. I put a lot of credit to Matt and Tucky's church, Vision Baptist Church in Forsyth County, Georgia. They were there every day. They did picnics every day after trial. They had 24/7 prayer intervention at their church and at their parishioners' homes. They were incredible. I definitely have to give a huge shout out to them for the just doing the work of God in that. But we were able to win on that, and all of that started with one foster care family that said, "No, I'm not going to let this happen on my watch. I'm not going to kick the can down the road. I'm going to find someone that can help me on this because something wrong is happening here." So not only was that a victory for the Hernandez family, not only was that a victory for so many other families that we never would have found out about if we hadn't done this. Not only has that been a victory for families across Georgia who will never have to face this moving forward because of those changes, and in future in states that will get implemented there as well. It's countless how many people this will affect. And as a side note, just a few weeks ago, I live in Myrtle Beach, and Matt and Tucky were down with their kids for vacation, so I got to have dinner with them a few weeks ago, and they're back together as a family. This entire nightmare is behind them. That happened because of the work that we do. And so I know you probably expected a much shorter answer to that, but that is the greatest victory that I can think of. It's a victory for multiple families. It's a victory for policy changes. It's a victory for future policy changes. And what that really means is it's a victory for countless families who will never have to face this nightmare. And that's because of what we do.
Ready for the next question?
Yes, and I will try to make my answer slightly shorter, but I can't promise. I'm known for giving long answers.
This is a really good question. I hope I get your name right. Lakivia asked, she said, "This work is really heavy. How do the people on your team exercise and prioritize self-care?"
I'm actually going to defer to Ryan and Victoria as well on this, because I have probably the easiest job, where I just go and do interviews and talk about these events and hear about all the great work we're doing and help with the social media end of it. It's these guys that are actually like, I get to meet these people as we're already helping them, and after we've helped them. Very early on, I was involved with cause vetting, but we're scaled up to the point where that ship sailed a long time ago. So I'll defer to Ryan and Victoria on that one, because it is a very tough one.
Yeah, so one of the things that we always stress to our volunteers and to our team members who are on the ground doing this work, and that includes myself and Victoria, is We have checks and balances. And so one of the things that we consistently do is just check in on each other, like, hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything from me? Do you need to take some time off? So there are instances where specifically when we're dealing with child protective services case, which are heavy, taxing, emotionally draining work, we just give the team opportunity to take the time off, right? So it's nothing that is set in stone, but a lot of that downtime starts with just a simple checking in, like, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Is there anything you need from me? And then we just check the pulse of the team. So we've been really good about being able to do that and making sure everyone has time off. And I want to stress that it's from like the top down, right? So our social media team is intimately involved in this. Our Myra's intimately involved in this, Spike's intimately involved in these things. And so we're consistently checking on each other. And I'm going to be quiet after I say this, but one of the things that I'm so proud of about the team that we work with is we treat one another like family. And so we're consistently saying, hey, brother, I love you. Hey, sister, I love you. Do you need anything? And when we say that, we're not just saying that just because it sounds like the right thing to say. We genuinely mean that. And so I wish I could show you some of our signal chats and emails and text messages, but it's consistently us checking in on one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Victoria, I know you probably want to add to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely right. Checking in and the awareness. Our RO team and our core team meet regularly to kind of check in and see where we're at and how things are going. Having awareness about who's on your team and what they're dealing with. A lot of our volunteers came to us because they have also dealt with some of these situations themselves. And so being aware of where their triggers might be and being able to check in with them and say, how are you feeling about this? Is this something that might be too heavy for you to work on? And the awareness there. One of the other things that has actually been incredible to watch is that some of our volunteers, some of our organizers who are dealing with stresses and heavy things in their own lives and their own cases find that helping other people through this work is actually something that helps to alleviate that pain and stress for them. And so that has been an incredible thing to watch, that being able to be a blessing to other people helps to alleviate the pain and stress that we all experience. And quite honestly, sometimes it just means, crying to each other and, letting that out. So it is the camaraderie and the community that we've built here. It's an incredible organization.
Yeah. When we were building this very early on, I was like, we all came out of some other, and I don't want to name names, but we all came out of some other volunteer organizational groups that were less like that and were very like, oh, you want to help? Here's 50 hours of work to do for the rest of your life. And if you complain, then you're not a real one of us. And so we wanted to be the anti that. We wanted to be like, no, we need to respect the fact that there are people, the vast majority of the people that are working on this are doing this for the arguably unfair pay of $0.00 an hour. And so we have to really respect that and understand that people are doing this out of the goodness of their hearts, and they're human beings. Like we talk about the principle of human respect. We have to treat people like people. And that includes the people that are doing the work. They're not robots, they're not machines. They're dealing with, and like Victoria said, some of them are people that have been through this themselves. So they're dealing with this. And yes, it is a great way for them to give back, but they also went through this. It's no doubt triggering memories of when this happened to them. And they're having to try to explain to someone who's still going through it, it's okay, we can help you. But they knew what that was like back before that, it was over for them. So uh, after the Hernandez criminal trial, I actually went there for the last day of the trial. And again, I feel like I just showed up and I'm part of declaring victory, and they're the ones that did all the work. But I showed up to that. I was there for the last day of that, and I had a debrief with Ryan after that trial, because he lives in the area, and and he said, yeah, I've already told a few members, like, don't call me for like a week or two. Like, you are forbidden from doing any volunteer work for the next week or so. Go rest, go take it easy. Don't even look at our social media. Just go have some downtime. Because people had, I mean, they were there every single day for as long as the trial was happening. And we would rather err on the side of not allowing people to burn themselves out. We'd rather have them sitting there going, man, I wish they'd let me get back to work, than have them burn themselves out because they just feel like they want to keep giving. So we're very big on that. Lori asked, do you have I just saw that. Do you have a chapter in Connecticut? Well, we operate in all 50 states, but we actually, isn't it Lance is our Connecticut state director, Victoria?
Yes.
Connor is going to be your Northeast, and
Yeah.
Lance Leduc is the state organizer for Connecticut.
Awesome. And Connor answered. See how amazing, like clockwork, this team is? We're all answering the question at the same time.
I saw Sam had his hand up.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And thank you for Rebecca for getting me involved and leading the way for me to get here and be involved and ask these questions. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I only have a few. I was really curious why Georgia seems to be the hotbed for these family separation issues. And is there any other states to keep an eye on?
Yeah, the other 49 states where it's all over. Like we just had one in like I said, we had one in Colorado, we have one in Indiana. The Patterson family is in Florida. The Anderson family is in Massachusetts. We're all over. Georgia is one of the, or has been one of the worst states. I also think it's possibly because that was the first state that we targeted. And so people were seeing defects in Georgia. And so a disproportionately large number of the people that reached out to us were also in Georgia, but we're seeing it happen all over. It's like I said, if you think Georgia's bad, New Hampshire is literally setting up kiddie prisons. It's real. Some states are somehow worse than Georgia was. But I don't know, Ryan, do you have any additional thoughts on that? You've been heavily involved from the beginning on early, because Ryan's been at one point. Ryan was our Southeast regional organizer, which included Georgia. Then he became our volunteer organizer, and now he's our volunteer director. Now he's our operations director. So he started kind of early on with like the Hernandez family and all of this stuff. So he's kind of been at the beginning of all this. So he probably more so than anyone else on this thing, he can speak intelligently about this.
Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence on that one. I don't know about intelligent, but I can definitely speak on it. Sam, to answer your question, right now, specifically with the family reunification program, we have about 90 requests that we're processing through. Of those requests, I believe 20 or 25 are from Georgia. The rest are just kind of scattered out throughout the country. Some of the states that we're focusing in on right now, specifically on like family reunification or just cases in general, the Northeast and the Midwest are going to be big for us. Just kind of looking ahead, probably for the next maybe month and a half to 2 months, you're going to see cases launch within those areas. Some are going to be as complex as a murder. Some are going to be as maybe simplistic as just some free speech violations and things like that. So I would say right now the hotbed for us, at least for the next coming week, is going to be the Midwest and the Northeast.
Okay, can I ask one more?
Sure, absolutely.
If I or any other members were able to organize like a seminar or any kind of group where people were listening, what topics do you think would be allow us to gain the most traction?
So the way we've been doing this for the most part is we've been letting the causes tell the story. And by that, I mean, we've just been, whatever's coming in that we're able to feasibly work on, we've kind of been letting that be the thing that we work on instead of us trying to wag the dog and say, we think the real important thing is, like, for example, some of the first cases that we took on were primarily like eminent domain cases. And so I would have thought like, yeah, that's definitely something that that's probably going to be the bulk of what we do. Well, that's one of our one of the things we're least involved in, at least right now. Then out of nowhere came a bunch of cases of charities that were being threatened with arrest because they were feeding people, and we've had multiple other kind of one-off cases, and then now this family reunification thing has become bigger than almost everything else combined at this point. In fact, actually, it is bigger than everything else combined that we're working on, at least for now. So we've really been kind of allowing the causes that are coming in to determine where we are best serving. And if they meet our ultimate criteria of, is this something that's going to get people's attention and going to tug at their heartstrings, it does the work itself. When we tell the stories of these folks, people want to get involved and they want to be helpful. A good follow-up question that you may have is, well, how do we find these? That's not a problem. Unfortunately, we live in a very, I think the strategic term is we live in a very target-rich environment. Another way to put it is it's like drinking from a water hose. Like Ryan said, we're vetting 90 causes right now. That's just family reunification. We literally have, you know, we are resource limited in how many things we can take on. So I think more so than trying to find the cause that we should lead with, it's more allowing the causes that we already have, that we have this sort of embarrassment of riches of causes that we're already working on, allow them to tell the story of what it is that we're trying to do, because everything we're picking is stuff that people want to get involved on. They're very rarely, I can't think offhand of a time that we put anything out and there was an overwhelming response of, well, it's not that big of a deal. Like it usually, it at least ticks people off, if nothing else. And in some cases, it's the only thing they want to work on. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Jeremy asks, are there any like specific bottlenecks or just general resource limits? Uh, Ryan and Victoria, I would say pretty much it's just how many people we can have look at it, how much resources we have to put on it. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So to answer your question, Jeremy, we try, I think I put it in the chat earlier. We processed 330 requests for assistance last year. We're on pace to process about 750 this year. And we just go through a thorough vetting process, make sure it meets our cause acceptance criteria. But we're actually reaching out to people and just right now we're almost putting them on a waiting list, and we're just saying, hey, we got your request, we're following up on it, bear with us. So we're really just limited only by our personnel at this point. And as we continue to grow, we're going to be able to assist more people, which is why you've seen a almost doubling of our staff over the past couple of years and just been able to reach and care for more people in that respect.
And to that end, we certainly need more state organizers and volunteers in order to help us process those. So things like, what's a great idea to be able to get, people moving in Arizona would be bring us some cases specifically for Arizona, and that will help to drive that momentum there in your state. You're a state organizer, so we've got someone there to work that, but we don't have state organizers in all of our states. So that is part of the capacity limit that we have, is not having organizers to be able to handle all of the cases that we have.
Yeah, we originally planned to kind of force the appointment of 50 state organizers, and very quickly we realized, let's wait for the need to be there. We now have the opposite problem where the need's there, and now we're scrambling to get the state organizer. In retrospect, it was still the right way to do it, because there's no need to have someone sitting there as a state organizer there's nothing to organize. But that is what's happening. So the good news is, so keep in mind, we didn't exist 3.5 years ago. So we're a very young organization, and we're like doubling and tripling every year, and have been from our beginning. We're well over, I'd say from when we started, I think safely we can say our capacity is at least 20 to 40 times higher than it was when we started. And I think that's a safe estimate to say that in terms of what we're actually able to do. So that's the good news. The bad news is the demand, as more and more people find out about us and find out about how successful we are, even more people are reaching out to us. So we're kind of in this endless, our resources and just team and human resources and monetary resources are always behind the demand for it. We're growing as fast as we can, and to whatever extent you can help on any of those fronts, it's definitely helpful. But I think I'd love for us to reach a point where we're not needed anymore. We can all find something else to do. But in the meantime, I think we're going to be in a constant state of growing to an ever-growing demand. So yeah, it's just general limitations. Folks, thank you again for being a part of this, and for all of your questions, and for all of your fun emoji reactions that I didn't even know were a thing. They help so much during this. Because there are times I'm just talking, I'm like, am I just is any of this landing? And then I'm getting like, hearts and stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, it is landing. So that's good. So thank you for that. And yeah, exactly. Just like that. And thank you guys for being a part of this. If you have not already done so, please become a member. Again, membership is free. If you're able to be a paid member, fantastic. If you're not, if you just want to be a free member, that's fine. We just want you to be involved. Go to youarethepower.net/join and become a member today. We'd love to have you be a part of it. If you're in a position to volunteer, even better. We'd love to have you be a part of actively volunteering, and whether it's as a state organizer, Tiger team member, just general volunteer, helping with our cause vetting teams, whatever it is, then you can go to youarethepower.net/volunteer and be a part of that. If you're in a position to give monetarily, you can go to youarethepower.net/donate. Every little bit helps. And yeah, please follow us on all of our socials at YATP Official, or if you just look for You Are the Power, it'll probably come up. So thank you guys again for being a part of this. I pray that this has been educational to you, and that you're as excited to get involved, or to continue to be as involved as you already are. Thank you all for being a part of this, and God bless you. Thank you.